Hi friends, hello. Welcome to Crack UPSC CSC with India's largest online platform, Unacademy. This is Kiran Anishetty, faculty for Political Science, Public Administration, Polity, Issues in Governance and Ethics. I have done my MBA from Osmania University, MA in Political Science and Public Administration from Sri Venkateswara University. I have UGC NET in both the subjects, political science as well as public administration. I'm about to complete my LLB. With regard to UPSC, I took UPSC prelims 7 times with public administration as optional. I wrote civils mains for 4 times, each time scoring more than 55% in public administration optional. With regard to UPSC teaching experience, I have more than 10 years of teaching experience. I have taught Telangana ST Study Circle. I have taught in Telangana Minority IAS Study Circle. I taught in Super 60 IAS Academy. I worked with Narayana IAS Academy Hyderabad. And I'm working with Shine India IAS Academy in offline. If you have any queries, you please feel free to contact me to get guidance, mentorship, clarify your doubts on this phone number 9652 58 3905. Today we are going to discuss the last session on fundamental rights series of sessions, part 6, in which we are going to discuss the exceptions to fundamental rights, conflict between directive principles of state policy and fundamental rights, and suspension of fundamental rights during national emergency. From Unacademy, you will be getting daily live classes, live tests, quizzes, structured courses, and unlimited access to videos on civil services, mains, and prelims. You can prepare with the top educators of Unacademy, such as Roman Saini, Mudit Gupta. You will be getting videos and course material on UPSC subjects such as polity, history, economy, geography, ethics, interview preparation. You can subscribe 12 months, that is 44,000. You use my promo code, that is capital KIRAN, you will get 10% discount. You go for 24 month subscription, it will be all the more good. You will be getting 10% discount. Unacademy has come up recently with iconic subscription, in which we have many salient features such as personal mentorship, which is very, very important for the aspirant. If you use my promo code, that is capital KIRAN, you will be getting my personal mentorship with regard to political science optional as well as public administration optional, and GS, polity, issues in governance, and ethics. Apart from me, Unacademy will assign a team of experts. You will be getting in this subscription daily questions on mains, structured schedule, live classes, test series. For 1 year, after the discount is 57,600. For 2 years, it will be 89,100. Exceptions to fundamental rights. any law made for compulsory acquisition of property under Article 31A will not be declared null and void on the grounds that that law violates the fundamental rights that have been enshrined under Article 14 and 19. Any law which seeks to compulsory acquisition of property for public purpose, whether the law is made by Parliament or state legislature, will not be declared as null and void on the grounds that that law violates the fundamental rights under Article 14 and 19. Article 31A deals with the laws related to agrarian reforms, agricultural reforms. Like earlier, we might have heard a feudal lord used to have hundreds of acres. Now land ceiling, land reforms are introduced to abolish zamindari system, and that land which used to be held by a single feudal lord, now it has been distributed among the poor landless peasants. Any law which seeks to acquire the ownership of the company or estate which aims at nationalization of private corporations or assets, like Indira Gandhi government nationalized private banks. This law which seeks to implement compulsory acquisition of private property for public purpose will not be declared as null and void on the grounds that it violates the fundamental rights under Article 14 and 19. And they are related to land reforms, industry, and commerce. Second exception for fundamental rights: any law that has been incorporated under ninth schedule cannot be challenged in any court of law on the grounds of violation of any fundamental right. That means it is wider than Article 31A, because Article 31A it speaks about only the fundamental rights under Article 14 and 19. But under Article 31B, any law that has been incorporated under ninth schedule cannot be declared as null and void on the grounds that it violates the fundamental rights, any fundamental, on the grounds that it violates any fundamental right. But Supreme Court gave the judgment that such laws can be questioned on the grounds that judicial review is basic structure of the Constitution, and on the grounds of violation of basic structure of the Constitution, such laws can be questioned in courts. That is Article 31B. Any law that is included in ninth schedule will be saved from being declared as null and void on the grounds that it violates any fundamental right under Article 43. Supreme Court declared that they can be challenged on the grounds of violation of basic structure of the Constitution. Article 31C saves any law which seeks to implement directive principles of state policy under Article 39B or Article 39C. Article 31C saves any law which seeks to implement directive principles of state policy under Article 39B or 39C from being invalidated on the grounds of violation of fundamental rights under Article 14 or 9. Article 31C saves any law which seeks to implement directive principles of state policy under Article 39B or Article 39C from being invalidated on the grounds of violation of fundamental rights under Article 14 or 9. What are these directive principles of state policy under Article 39B or 39C? Article 39B says the state shall strive for equitable distribution of material resources of the nation as far as possible. The state shall strive for equitable distribution of material resources of the nation as far as possible. Article 39C says the state shall strive for prevention of concentration of means of production in a few hands. That means the government will try its best to prevent monopolization. Article 39C, it seeks to prevent concentration of means of production in a few hands. Any law made by Parliament or state legislature which seeks to implement any of these directive principles either under Article 39B or under Article 39C will not be declared as invalid on the grounds of violation of fundamental rights. On the grounds of violation of fundamental rights under Article 14 or 9. Under Article 14 or 9. These are the exceptions to fundamental right. Now we will discuss suspension of fundamental rights during the proclamation of emergency. Fundamental rights under Article 19 will be suspended as soon as the national emergency is enforced. Article 19 will be automatically suspended. That means right to freedom automatically suspended under Article 358 as soon as the national emergency comes into effect. Other fundamental rights, with regard to other fundamental rights, the legislative and executive organs of the state are free from taking actions which may violate the fundamental rights under Article 19. As soon as the national emergency is revoked, the fundamental rights under Article 19 will also be reinstated. So when Article 19 is suspended, the state legislature, the executive or legislative organs of the state can take actions which may violate any of fundamental rights under Article 19, which happened during the infamous national emergency that was imposed by Indira Gandhi in 1975. The censor on press, the censor on media, the restrictions on freedom of movement of people, all these things were imposed. Because as soon as the national emergency comes into effect, Article 19 will be suspended. And as soon as the national emergency is revoked, fundamental rights under Article 19 will also be reinstated. Article 359, under Article 359, the President by order can suspend fundamental rights under Article 32. That means when President issues notification under Article 359 right to constitutional remedies itself will be suspended. That means we cannot move to court for the enforcement of fundamental rights. Theoretically, the fundamental rights will be in operation, but in practice, the aggrieved person cannot approach the court of law for the enforcement of any of fundamental rights. That is Article 359. And such presidential order should be ratified by the Parliament. 44th Amendment Act introduced one safeguard against this Article 359 with regard to the fundamental rights that have been enshrined under Article 20 and 21. With regard to fundamental rights that have been enshrined under Article 20 and 21, the aggrieved person can approach the Supreme Court. The aggrieved person can approach the Supreme Court. He can approach the Supreme Court. As far as the fundamental rights that have been enshrined under Article 20 and 21. But with regard to other fundamental rights, the aggrieved person cannot approach the court because Article 32 is suspended. Here, the difference between Article 358 and 359 are right. First, Article 359 can be enforced only when the national emergency is imposed either on the grounds of external aggression or war. It can be imposed only when the national emergency is imposed either on the grounds of war or external aggression. That is one. Article 358 is automatically applicable throughout the country. Article 358 is automatically applicable throughout the country. But on the other hand, Article 359 will be applicable only to those areas of the country that have been notified by the President in his presidential order. Only to those areas that have been notified by the President in his presidential order. Third, as soon as Article 358 is invoked, automatically Article 19 is suspended. But under Article 359, the President prescribes what are those fundamental rights that are going to be suspended. He specifies, the President specifies what are those fundamental rights that are going to be suspended. They will be specifically mentioned in presidential under Article 359. Fourth, as long as the national emergency exists, Article 358 will be in force. As long as the national emergency goes on, Article 358 will be in operation. But on the other hand, Article 359 will be in operation only as long as the period that has been prescribed by the President. It will be restricted to that period that has been notified by the President in presidential order. That is Article 359. These are the differences between Article 358 and Article 359. Then the conflict between fundamental rights and directive principles of state policy. For the first time, this question has arisen in Champakan Dorairajan case in 1951. The Supreme Court ruled that in case of conflict between fundamental rights and directive principles of state policy, the former would prevail and the directive principles of state policy run subsidiary to fundamental rights. But Supreme Court ruled that fundamental rights can be amended. So this is very, very important. For the first time, the question whether fundamental rights are superior to directive principles of state policy or directive principles of state policy superior to fundamental rights has arisen for the first time in 1951 in a case called Tampakam Dorairajan case. In that case, Supreme Court declared that directive principles of, in case of any conflict between fundamental rights and directive principles of state policy, directive principles of state policy run subsidiary to fundamental rights. Supreme Court ruled that fundamental rights can be amended by the Parliament under its constitutional amendment powers under Article 368. In next case, Golaknath case in 1967, Supreme Court ruled that fundamental rights are sacrosanct. Yes, they cannot be amended. Fundamental rights are infallible. Hence, they cannot be amended. They cannot be amended. They cannot be amended. In next Keshavananda Bharati case, Supreme Court ruled that fundamental rights can be amended subjected to the basic structure of the Constitution. Basic structure of the Constitution. Hence, in Keshavananda Bharati case, Supreme Court ruled that the Parliament can amend fundamental rights under its Constitution amendment powers under Article 368, but it should be subjected to basic structure of the Constitution. In Minerva Mills case, Supreme Court ruled that the equilibrium between fundamental rights and directive principles of state policy is one of the basic features of the Constitution. Minerva Mills case, Supreme Court ruled the equilibrium there between the fundamental rights and directive principles of state policy is one of the basic features of the Constitution. First of all, why the question arises the conflict between fundamental rights and directive principles of state policy? In what way the conflict may be between directive principles of state policy and fundamental rights? It is because fundamental rights reflect the rights of an individual. On the other hand, directive principles of state policy reflect the rights of the society as well. The rights of the collective rights of the society as well. Fundamental rights, they reflect individual rights. On the other hand, directive principles of state policy reflect the rights of the collective rights of the society as such. Why there should be equilibrium? First of all, instead of discussing the conflict between fundamental rights and directive principles of state policy as a war or enmity between these two rights, individual rights with regard to fundamental rights, collective rights of the society with regard to directive principles of state policy. In this context, we should understand the statement given by Dada Baba Saheb Ambedkar. He says, recently, 2 years ago, this statement was asked in political science optional paper. Political science optional paper. the fundamental rights, the political rights depend on the bedrock of socio-economic rights. Comment. Political rights contingent on the bedrock of socio-economic rights. That means fundamental rights, they depend, the realization of fundamental rights depend on realization of socio-economic rights. Without realizing socio-economic rights, at least to certain extent, we cannot enjoy fundamental rights in true sense of term. Hence, practically, there is no conflict between fundamental rights and directive principles of state policy. They are not independent of each other. They are complement to each other. They have symbiotic relationship between them. Why we cannot realize fundamental rights without realizing socio-economic rights, at least to certain extent? You just observe how a cop behaves with a landless farmer who is also illiterate in rural area, and how the same farmer behaves with a software engineer or a corpocrat in metropolis in areas like Gurgaon or Noida. Why that difference? Why that difference? It is because of the differences in socio-economic state. It is because the differences between socio-economic state. It is because the differences between socio-economic state. Hence, if we want to make the masses to realize their fundamental rights in true sense of term, we have to uplift them socially and economically. Then only they can realize fundamental rights in true sense of term. This is how fundamental rights and directive principles of state policy are complement to each other, not same, contradictory to each other. That's why Supreme Court aptly declared in Minerva Mills case that the equilibrium between fundamental rights on one hand, the directive principles of state policy on the other hand, is one of the basic features of the Constitution. In most of the countries, especially in socialistic countries, what voluntary rights that we have in directive principles of state policy, as right to work, right to get medical aid, right to livelihood, all these are right to adequate nutrition. All these are fundamental rights over there. All they are legal rights. Why have they made them legal rights? Because unless and until you realize them, you cannot realize the fundamental rights in true sense of it. That's why Dr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar aptly quoted this statement. Political rights depend on socio-economic rights. Political rights depend on the bedrock of socio-economic rights. Political rights means what? Fundamental rights, right to vote, right to contest for political positions. They come under political rights. But unless and until you realize, at least to certain extent, the socio-economic rights, cannot realize fundamental rights in true sense of term. Hence, the present situation is that any law which seeks to implement any directive principles of state policy under Article 39B or 39C will not be declared as null and void on the grounds of violation of fundamental rights under Article 14 or 19. That will not be declared as null and void on the grounds of violation of fundamental rights under Article 14 or 19. Thank you, friends. I hope you found the session very informative and useful. Please use my promo code, that is capital KIRAN, and get 10% discount. If you have any queries, you please subscribe to my Telegram channel, quality_with_Kiran Anishetty. Thanks a lot. See you in the next session.